What are you doing there, Steve? Playing with a string? What are you doing, T-Rex? Starting your day? Wow, looks beautiful outside. 66 degrees at 9 a.m., June 11th. The barometer, it's climbing ever so slowly. We've been in sort of this low-pressure doldrum with at least southern New England, sun and clouds. Northern New England, I don't think we've seen the sun in about a week. Tuesdays have been the best day of the year for weeks, months even. Best day of the week. This week, I'm not so sure. I woke up this morning about 3 o'clock. Actually saw a coyote go right across the back here, and it was cloudy outside. And I got stimulated, and I started looking at the weather, and I was awake until the birds started singing around 4 o'clock, and then I fell back asleep. And anyhow, that's my excuse for being so late, and concern about coyotes, too. And the weather, of course, always on my mind. This morning, once again, record low temperatures underneath the center of the high pressure system, which is right over the Great Lakes. This morning in Chicago and Cleveland, all the way down to Gadsden, Alabama. Low temperatures in the 40s and 50s. Record cold. I think this is about the third day in a row with record cold underneath the center of the high. You know what I say about high barometer cold, it's an inversion. You're colder with radiational cooling at night and in lower elevations than you are by day. And in low barometer cold, the sky is colder than the lower elevations. We are in low barometer cold, not to be confused with the high barometer cold over the Midwest. Mount Washington, again this morning, 39 degrees, socked in the clouds. Mount Washington has a cam also at Cannon Mountain. Here's the view at Cannon Mountain this morning at 8:30. Same thing, day after day after day in the mountains. Mount Washington picked up an inch of rain yesterday, making it 3.6 inches of rain in the last 7 days. And it looks like most of northern New England, not too wet today. Here's the Weather Prediction Center forecast this evening. There's this little shaded area with a chance of a thunderstorm in northern New England. The orange dashed line is a surface trough. A little bit of convergence. But note, there are no black lines, no isobars in New England today. So there's a very weak pressure gradient. So that means diurnal and orographic effect will rule. Diurnal is the sun gets higher in the sky, the land heats up, and the ocean is pretty chilly. So the air will start rising up over the land. With the warmer, less dense air rising and being replaced by the cooler, more dense air coming in off the ocean. That's called the sea breeze. We're going to have a sea breeze today. And you can see the instability cumulus. So these alto cumulus, the mid and higher clouds, I think are more a result of a warmer front trying to form over us, but not really making much progress. And then these are sort of the leftover cold air advection type clouds that you have inland already. So not the brightest Tuesday, but comfortable. Temperatures are in the 70s with the dew point in the 50s, 60s at the beaches. Yeah, Rex. Smells that coyote that walked through here. All right, what was I going to say? Yeah, yesterday's high temperature in Boston, it was so windy yesterday. And that's what happens when you have a deep low pressure system to your north. It was so windy, and it was a downsloping wind in Boston coming out of the Worcester Hills and compressing, and the high in Boston yesterday was 78. I think most of the guidance had us about 72 or 73, but guess what? The thickness was 558, and that rule about adding 20, 58 plus 20, 78. Well, today the thickness is about 556. It's a slightly cooler air mass right over New England. So if it were sunny with an offshore flow, Boston would probably be about 76. But I have a feeling the high temperature in Boston is going to happen either right now or again towards sunset. But during the middle of the day, it may cool into the 60s at Logan Airport. Now, there's a big difference between Logan Airport and Back Bay. But the official records are from Logan Airport. I've always had an issue with that. If you've been watching me for a long time, you know about that. Anyhow, there's the beautiful sinking air over the ocean right now. So not a lot to talk about. The big worry happens on the backside of these high pressure systems, south side of the high, west side of the high.
And on the south side of this high, we now have a front stalled in the Gulf of Mexico. So the cooler air is pushed all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. And Florida has been searing, as Sterling
Seargard, I hope I get your name right, Sterling, has been telling us. He's like, why did I move to Florida? It's been in the mid-90s. Dew point's been in the 70s. Anyhow, this cooler air is
now igniting a tropical wave, and the National Hurricane Center says, well, there's a tropical wave in the eastern Gulf of Mexico with a 0 chance of becoming a tropical storm in the next couple of days. I think they just had to use their tools just to talk about the fact that there's going to be real heavy rain in Florida, not a tropical storm, not yet anyway.
But watch, I'm going to show you the tropical sector
first in the Gulf of Mexico because it's so interesting. We talked about the front that's going to cause a system to go off the mid-Atlantic. We'll talk about that in a minute. But even Florida, you have some showers and thunderstorms developing, and that looks kind of diurnal too each afternoon with real heavy rains. But note, they're not really moving off to the east. As a matter of fact, they're kind of backing through the Gulf of Mexico towards the
coast of Mexico and then
into late in the period South Texas. Now that does look like a tropical wave going into South Texas in about 7 or 8 days.
Like we said, we got to watch the backside of these cold high pressure systems.
Something can develop. And if you look at the amount of water that is forecast, the quantitative precipitation forecast, you can see it really growing there in Florida. You know, Tampa to Orlando is in a severe drought. You know how droughts end?
In floods. There is a flood watch.
And Florida is going to get more
rain in the next 10 days than in the last perhaps 10 months.
In some spots there in central and southern Florida. And then Texas right there at the end. Texas trying to catch up with that tropical wave coming in. So both the coast
near Corpus Christi, Texas, and near Tampa in Florida are forecast to get 8 to 12 inches of rain in the next 240 hours. What about New England? Remember last June?
We just couldn't shake the rain and the high dew points. Well, we're going to have to turn on our irrigation if you're into that and hand water our gardens because there's very little rain in our forecast here. Here's the Sterling, Massachusetts, 3 to 5 day, and you can see the dew point stays in the 50s with the temperature in the 70s next 2 days. Then we get into the 80s on about Thursday into Friday. The dew point does get into the 60s Thursday into Friday. And then there's a sharp front Friday night, and new, cool, dry air is coming in for the weekend. That looks really nice, actually. So let's go to the map showing how that all progresses. We'll start off here with our upper level low that's still over southeastern Canada and New England, just finally getting out of here. Pause
for a moment. I want to show you
the satellite image. The cloud that we've been talking about now extends from Greenland into southeastern Canada, and then off to the south of that is the front we talked about with the
low pressure system going
off the mid-Atlantic. We talked about that from a week ago when at one point
the guidance had that coming right up to Cape Cod. Well, that's going to stay out to sea. But my point here is that the low that went by 12 days ago on May 30th has finally reached Greenland.
There it is on the Ocean Prediction Center chart, and you can see the fronts trailing back
into southeastern Canada and also off the southeastern United States, with the high pressure system right there over the Ohio Valley. And that high pressure system is going to gradually work to the east and south. And it's the backside of that high where we're getting our warm up. All right, let's go back to the backside of that high. Here is the Thursday map, and then there's the front coming into southeastern Canada. We have a flow from the southwest with a thickness of 570 to 576. So if it stayed so totally sunny, would be in the low 90s with that. But the cloud is coming in very fast on Thursday into Friday, northern New England, Friday into Friday night, and Saturday that
front goes south of New England with some pretty good
downpours and thunderstorms here.
Friday into Friday night, and then Saturday, Cape Cod may start off gray, but will turn sunny, and it's a cool, high pressure system, perhaps some record low temperatures with that one also as it goes by
on Saturday night, and then Sunday we start to get back in the warmer side of that one, and that high is going to turn into an expansive area of hot weather from
North Texas all the way here into New England as the wind
comes in from the southwest next Tuesday. There's a
little perturbation there. I think that's a warm front. And then Thursday and Friday, another cool front comes in Friday, and we're on that schedule of Thursday, Friday cold fronts that would bring us some nice
relief from heat
next weekend. That's kind of a long range
guess, a low confidence guess. but there is a chance for a heat wave in New England next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 3 consecutive days of 90 plus, and the dew point will go up into the 60s and 70s. So
the other shoe has to fall eventually. We've been in this cool, damp
wave for some time,
and we're going to go into a hot wave next week, and hopefully it's going to end with thunderstorms. Otherwise, we're going to get pretty dusty around here. Fortunately, we had enough rain to wash away the pollen.
For the most part, at least in southern New England. Pollen's probably still coming in northern New England, but it's been raining every day. And today, just scattered showers in northern New England. All right. Well, what's my and more from yesterday? What did we do? Just kind of watch the sky and the wind and the clouds and the boats and some fun boating action to watch. And a new neighbor moved into the neighborhood. Are you there? I don't know. He checked in yesterday afternoon to that mooring, but not here now. Didn't know where you went. Anyhow, hope the coyotes stay out of my yard and we all have a productive and nice Tuesday. They love each other, I think, don't you? Yeah. All right. Talk to you all tomorrow. 9 o'clock. T-Rex wants to go out for a second. All the remnants from yesterday's, all the wet gear is drying out here. T-Rex knows a good spot. Steve is under there. I smell lawn clippings. And I see the storm way up there in Canada continues to spin. Look at that gorgeous vessel. Wow. I think that's what you call a cabin cruiser yacht. It's on top of the roof. The captain. Are you still out here, Rex? Kidding. It's 2:30 in the afternoon. Beautiful fair
Fair weather cumulus clouds. Look like puppies and bunnies and fluffies. New summer neighbor moving in today. Another one.
Just showing up at his mooring. Welcome. You may have been here longer than me. I don't know. A little assistance coming via dinghy. It's pretty warm. Still get a westerly breeze. I don't know.
Call it 74.
5 offshore breeze. Still cool air aloft, and these are instability cumulus. Diurnal heating causes the updraft, causes the cooling,
And condensation of puffy clouds. Rain showers continue in northern New England. Fewer and fewer by day after day. Eventually they'll be gone.
Got wind? We do. Hey Steve, in the clover, which I'm not going to bag when I mow. Tomorrow, you don't mess around with sub 995 lows. 995 millibars, 29.4 standard units, inches of mercury. They generate wind unless you're in a lull. We were in a lull earlier and now we are not. And technically it is still cold air advection, but it's very dry and very nice. Angela, that final butternut squash you gave me from 2023, it's going into a fish stew. TK fish stew. Just kind of made up the recipe, but there's lobster and cod in there and some butter, and of course butter with a lot of butter, and some cream and some onion and some pepper, and some Angela Kravchuk /Bert /Tim butternut squash. Yay. Now to our regularly scheduled sunset and time-lapse video. Did you really just pick up that ball with your teeth, T-Rex? Yeah. It's hard to get him by him. Let you go with a time lapse of the day, Captain Space Time. Blue sky, cumulus, back to blue sky.